Hi guys, welcome. And I'm here in San Diego, and I really wanted to do this training today. So this is going to be streamed live over on Facebook Live, but we're probably going to also use this on the podcast too. But it's such an inspirational story, and I love it when I'm able to share real life stories of real success that's happening right now in the fitness industry. And with me is Brandon. Brandon, why don't you share where you're from and where you're sat and all of that jazz before we go into the amazing story of the growth that you've had?
Hey guys, I'm Brandon. How's it going? Just first off, I gotta say it's an honor to be here. Honor to get to talk with you, Simon. I am from California, a little town called Castro Valley. If you guys haven't heard of it, it's kind of close to Oakland, San Francisco area. Been doing training for close to about 3 years now, and been a coach instructor for about 5 years. So yeah, it's just really awesome to take this lead, man.
So why don't we wind back the clock? So, talk about when you first got into the industry, why you got into the personal training industry, what happened, where you found yourself, why you made that decision. And then we'll start the conversation around our first conversation, and then really take people through the journey so that they can really understand, like, really where you were emotionally, what happened, what the shift was, what some of the mental blocks were that you had to overcome, the new systems that you needed to implement. But why don't you share the story of back when you made the decision to qualify?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to try to do this justice. My website does a much better job, but it all started when I was about 14 years old in eighth grade. I was doing wrestling. I was known as a stud back then, as just a wrestler who was really good at what they did. My record was like 18-2. I was looking to an undefeated eighth grade year, and just during one fateful practice, I had one of my sparring partners he was messing around and like pulled too hard during this move it was called a banana split. And let me tell you guys, doesn't sound very appealing, and it's not, but during that move, basically he pulled too hard on my leg, and it just separated an area in my L4, L5 and my spine. Immediately, it just made a loud snap, and the entire room was just, man, everyone went dead silent. I was sitting there, I was 14 years old, just laying on the mat there, and I thought I was paralyzed, and it was the scariest thing ever, to say the least. And fast forward a couple weeks, I ended up going to an athletic doctor who told me, you know what, you're never going to be able to lift more than 10 pounds again. Don't ever compete in contact sports. You can be paralyzed. I remembered I got a brand new JanSport backpack at the time, and I was so stoked about it. I was wearing it around school, but then I had to switch it out after the injury for a Rolly backpack. And at the time, Rolly backpacks were like, man, no one liked Rolly backpacks. You get made fun of, all this sort of stuff. So, man, I was super depressed. I was super down on myself, in and out of the chiropractor visits a couple times a week. And I found some relief in the chiropractic visits, but they never sustained me. Like, a couple days would go past, and then I'd slip out again. They kind of just put a Band-Aid on the problem, not really fix it. So what I set out to do is, I also had a back brace. They gave me a back brace to wear, which I only wore for like a month because it was ridiculous, man. I was 14 years old wearing something that looked like a corset, but the thickness of it was just like concrete. It was insane, man. And it's either that or do back surgery, which they would put a metal bracket in my back. So neither of those were viable options for me. I threw the back brace to the side. I started implementing my own training program. At this time, I had really no idea what I was doing. I just had very basic experience with weights from sports and stuff. And through like trial and error, I basically built up my strength. I played football freshman year, and I played my varsity year of high school, and just never looked back.
Hmm. And then you found yourself, where did you find yourself in what gym, and how was that?
Well, I would work out pretty frequently at 24 Hour Fitness, and I had a membership there for a couple of years. And, I was just doing my thing, building up my strength in my back and just my overall health. And then I actually recently I just walked in one day to check in, and one of the receptionists was a really good friend of mine. And she had a boyfriend who was actually a really good family friend of mine. funny story, her boyfriend's dad actually coached me in wrestling. So I ended up reaching out to him like, hey man, what does it take to become a trainer? I'm really interested in this. I would love to help people. I always felt a calling to help. And I just thought it'd be really neat to give back now that I've helped myself by doing training and strengthening. Maybe I can do that for other people. So I reached out to him, and within about 6 months, I did all the credentials. I got 3 certifications, which usually takes most people like a year to do. I just was so fired up. I did it and got everything done. And yeah, I think it was about 2014, late 2014 is when I started officially as a trainer. So, yeah.
And so what prompted you to reach out? What was going on with your mind at that time with, you know, how long you've been in the industry, what you're doing, what you're earning, the impact that you were having? What was the kind of the mindset you're in at that point before we even spoke?
Yeah. So a little backstory. Before I was a trainer, I was a swim instructor, and I was working with youth and adults, and I loved what I was doing. Absolutely loved like the physical part of it. And just, I always felt really comfortable in a teaching, instructing kind of role, but they really weren't paying me that well. And I felt like, you know what, for my time, it's just, my time's so valuable. I feel like, how can I make the next step and make this a career choice? How can I make a living doing this kind of thing? And so that's where I naturally just went to training. So when I first started as a trainer, I was super stoked. I was fresh off the books, you know, I had no experience, but I had all this knowledge in my head, and I learned very quickly that the knowledge doesn't just, you can't really interpret the knowledge to people scientifically. I was trying to use all these scientific terms and all these fancy terms, and they're like, wait, what are you saying? So it really was an eye opener that, you know, you have all this knowledge, but how do you make it, more importantly, how do you make it relatable to people? And that was something that was a big challenge. And that was like a big growing area for me. So for the first year or so, I was killing it, man. I was doing really well. I was really excited. I was like, hey, like in a year from now, I'm going to go independent, start my own business. But just caught along the process, maybe like 2 years in or so, I got really just down and out. I was like dreading getting up in the morning. I wasn't looking forward to it anymore. Just the system and just kind of stuff wore me down. You know, I didn't really have the passion that I had when I started. And then fast forward into the 3rd year, man, I was only working part-time at that point. And I was just, you know, barely scraping by, barely paying the bills. Cause, you know, I really loved doing what I was doing. But at the same time, I was just so depressed because I didn't really pursue what I truly felt inside, you know, like my own business and pursuing it the way I wanted to, and not the way someone was telling me to.
How was that impacting other areas of your life? Because you had a desire to help people, but you weren't where you wanted to be.
Oh man, I mean, it first starts with you. If you're not right yourself, then you can't help anyone. So I mean, I wasn't doing anyone favors by, you know, not taking care of myself, and it was tough, man. I was feeling depressed. I was feeling down. I felt very stuck, and I felt like I really couldn't deliver and be the person I wanted to be. You know, it was definitely a bad place to be.
What did you kind of try to do to get out of that situation before you kind of reached out? What have you've been trying stuff on social media? What have you been trying to do to move yourself out of that situation?
Oh man, I was looking all over the place. I tried to bring it back to education. I was like, man, if I just educate myself even more, that I might get out of this rut. Education didn't help. It just kind of compounded stuff. I tried to look into self-help stuff, which did help. But ultimately, I knew it was something deep down inside, and it was my mindset shift, and I just couldn't break it. I just couldn't break that mindset shift to be the person and show up as the person I wanted to be. And then I was reaching out to multiple people on social media, a couple other coaches that were in a similar position as Simon. Just, hey, you know, if you want success with your business, be really successful, let us know, go request a call and stuff like that. And I actually did a couple other calls with other coaches. And the big difference that I noticed is when I had a call with Simon, is he really focused on the emotions and the mindset. He focused on me, whereas the other guys were more focused on just like the money and generating leads and stuff like that. He definitely focused a lot on the emotion, and it hit me hard, man. Like I remember almost losing it on the phone. I almost started crying and stuff because it was super strong. It was super powerful. I felt my heartstrings pulling for sure.
And then, obviously you had to make a tough decision. What was, how did you feel in that moment before you kind of came into the program? Like what was going through your head? Like be honest. I mean, you can just talk honestly about like, were you scared? Were you like, oh my God, this is not going to work? Like what was going?
Yeah. I was terrified, man. I mean, just so much bills were adding up, a car payment, a future house that was coming along the line in a year or two. Just initially I looked at like pricing and all that kind of stuff, and I was so scared, but I was coming from a place of like desperation, and like I was so clung to that 1K and sometimes 2K a month I was making, and just like, if I lose this, I have nothing, and I remember
was your head even in, like what was your belief on what you could make a month on the point of the call, really?
Honestly, I didn't think I could make much more than what I was making. It was so hard for me to finally break free and allow myself to really realize, like after talking to you, I realized that just how much I was being held back and how much more I can generate if I just really got my mindset and took care of myself. That pretty much anything was possible. It's always been about my mindset for me and how I feel. So if I'm able to take care of myself and show up, then I know I can change lives, and I know I can help other people for sure.
So you're in 24-hour fitness. You're not happy. You're making about 2K a month, but half of that's been taken by the gym, pretty much. And then you make the jump. Let's explain what happened, because it's pretty crazy. It is pretty crazy. You can share now, what happened, what the shifts were, how fast it ascended, like just, I think it's just fantastic.
Yeah. So I finally decided, I looked at my financials, figured everything out. I made it happen. I felt like in that moment that, this is something I have to make happen. This is a shift I have to make in my life, because you only have a couple of these choices in life. And I remember hearing this when I was younger. You only have a couple of choices in life and decisions to make that are crucial, that change your entire life. And this is one of those choices. So decided to go through with it. The first week was just like, whoa, what's going on? Just so much exposure to all this different knowledge, and just all these people. The networking was huge for me. The support, I never really had a support group of like-minded people to help me out. So that was really huge for me. And also just having a coach to be there, like, and help me out. A big thing for me is I've always had great ideas, but I never could really execute them. So it was great for me to have a coach to execute them, and really just bring my goals and stuff that I wrote down and had in my head to life. And that's literally what happened over the first week. Just, it was kind of like all up in the air. And then the second week is starting to hone things together. And then the third week, finally starting to launch my business and really executing. And then by the fourth week, man, it was just like, I had the systems, the strategy, the mindset in place, and I had no choice but to succeed,
So explain to the guys watching, because they'll be like, okay, well, how did you do it? So explain to them what you generated in 30 days, but more importantly, the impact that now you're having, and really how that was done. Like, what new systems did you implement? Like, how was your training broken up? Like, what shifted, and what were you able to create for yourself?
The first thing that I had to tackle was being comfortable sharing the stuff that I had. I'm not really an open person. I wouldn't consider myself to be a very open person. If I met you out in person, we probably get along really well, but I wouldn't tell you like my deepest, darkest secrets. So it started with that. I had to air out my dirty laundry, if you will, like tell my secrets, the stuff that was holding me back and that was really affecting me. And the second I did that, man, I felt like a huge weight just lifted off my shoulders. Also getting comfortable in front of the camera, doing the All Fired Up series. It's this week challenge that really just allowed me to be comfortable speaking on the camera and being myself, stepping into this person that I knew I could be. And I actually parlayed that 7-day challenge into a 100-day challenge, which is awesome. And I'm loving it. Yeah. So that was a huge thing, was just getting that mindset and being comfortable. The other thing was, again, honing my goals to execution. And at that point, I went from starting the program just fearful, and then after a month, I generated $11,221. And more importantly than the money, I felt like for the first time since I started training that I actually was making a difference in changing people's lives, because I get to do things on the way that I would like to do them. And not only like not coming from like a selfish area, but I just knew the way that I would do it is going to be so much more effective than a way I could do it in a brick and mortar gym type deal. And the way that someone else was telling me to do it. And it's such an awesome process when you can allow your clients to let it be about them too. And you say, hey, is this working for you, kind of thing? You don't really
have freedom. It was about your freedom of being able to do what you wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. That flexibility is huge, man. Once you start your own thing, you own your own business and you can run the show, you can really have that flexibility to work with your clients and be like, hey, let's do stuff that really works for you. You know, and it's just so awesome to come at it from that perspective and that point.
So what was the impact then on your kind of confidence and then your belief system? Because when did you start to go, wow, like this is now, I can now start to do anything? Because there must have been a turning point where you're like, holy crap, like this is actually really happening. Because it's a big jump. I mean, it's over 10x in 1 month. That's a lot of people don't ever hit that number in their lifetime. And so you're doing it in 1 month. Like a lot of people are just like, how even is that possible? You know, and what is the impact that on you mentally with your confidence too?
Yeah, for me, the mindset, man, I can, and the confidence too, I mean, which is part of the mindset, but that confidence was huge. I never imagined that you could make what I made in a month. I was holding myself back with these limiting beliefs, you know, once I got those out of the way.
What were some of those stories that you had, those limiting beliefs that were holding you back?
Man, I felt like I wasn't good enough. I couldn't really meet the expectations that people would expect of me, that kind of stuff. And just really the confidence in selling training for like a price that you would think is that no one would pay. But, you know, it's when someone could really see not just the value, more so to see the effect it has on them. And from just 1 hour of being with someone, when you do things correctly and you got yourself, when you have yourself just on point, you're all fired up, that just translates to the people that you're with. And then you could just spend 1 hour with them and they're like, you know, the price point doesn't even matter at that point. It's just a number in reality.
What would you say now, like now that you've got into this position and now you're being looked up to by so many trainers, what would your message be to trainers out there who are in that same kind of situation where you've kind of now ascended and you're able to create now this, you know, a lot more freedom because now you're able to put more revenue back into the community and building your brand, but there's so many trainers out there who are still stuck. What would you suggest to them as to maybe some first steps? Because it's also the business model too, and the environment that you're in. One thing for you is that you were being restricted by your environment.
Yeah. So first things first, I would say, I don't want to be super cliche, but you really have no idea how much time you have on this planet. Like it can literally be over in 1 day. It can be over in 100. You have no idea. If you don't do something today, like now, that makes you happy and pushes your comfort zone, then I'm telling you guys, you're not going to be happy unless you're really going with your mission, your calling. I just felt so much pull to do this because I know it was a decision that's going to change my life. You have to just embrace the fear. You can't really get over the fear. At least initially, it's something that you just have to kind of plunge into. And even though it's fear, you might be fearful of doing it and it's really scary, the unknown, you kind of just got to go through it and realize that you're going to do what it takes. If this is something that you really focus on and something that you really want, you're going to do everything in your power basically to make yourself succeed.
And what are some of your personal things now that you wanted to do? Because you wanted to build your own home and all of this kind of stuff. So how do you feel now about some of your personal lifestyle goals now that you're able to do this?
Oh man. Yeah. So the house is going to be built in probably a year and a half, 2 years. The biggest concern for me, I wasn't sure if I could enter the program because I was so scared of letting go that income that I was like, in a year and a half, 2 years, I might not have anything. And that fear, man, just really overcame me. But as I broke through that and started to realize and really solidify all these systems and all the mindset and all the training, and I just really saw basically how much I could generate. So I was looking forward to like a year and a half, 2 years, like, okay, how much could I qualify for a loan? And now if I continually generate this and have this success, which I plan on, I might not even need a loan. I might be able to just pay it off and, just live in the house and enjoy that and go on vacations and, live it up.
You were talking earlier about the community, and let's talk about more about that and the impact that you want to have locally on the people around you, because you were saying some awesome stuff yesterday about that and what some of your plans are.
Yeah. So
and just want the guys to know that what you're offering some personal training, one-to-one, some semi-private, and some group training, correct?
Yeah, doing one-to-one, groups of 2 to 3 people, and then groups of 4 to 9. I want to keep it pretty tight-knit, tight-knit community. So that's something that I'm offering. And what was the other question?
I was just talking about the community, because you've got a strong connection with serving your community, and doing more about.
Yeah.
Talk more about that.
Yeah. So giving back has been something that is really important to me. I love helping people. I actually haven't spent any sort of money. I haven't spent any sort of time really on advertising myself online. Just thinking of ways that I can reach out and partner with my community and improve not just only my business, but help others. I think that's like something that's really important for me. And I think when the community and other people see that, they want to support you. And I love the idea of cultivating, creating an environment where people just support each other in the like-mindedness. It's so crucial. It's so important to have that network and that support group.
Now, you've not even started to run things like Facebook ads yet. So how did you pick up those clients to be able to serve and to get you to where you are now?
Yeah. So, I mean, some of them I had my most loyal clients from 24 who've been with me since I started, just a few of them. Implementing them in the process, you'd think like, oh man, that'd be a breeze. It actually is not. When you go from a big commercial gym with all these amenities and all these things to offer, and then you just basically have yourself and all these tools and equipment, nothing near what a commercial gym has. It's not as easy as you think. So that was definitely a challenge, and that came with the confidence to really be able to present that. And then pursuing a lot of leads that throughout the years kind of just slipped through the cracks, and I lost contact with them. And then a lot of leads and clients came from just reaching out to the community and putting content out there that people could relate to. And they just hit me up. They'd send me a private message and be like, man, like, I'm so glad that you shared that. No one really is, not a lot of people are doing that. They're not opening up and sharing. And I think that's huge.
Yeah. And so really what's happened is you've got your fire back for your business, which has meant that you wanted to reach out to those people, because it's easy to just generate enough revenue to get by. But now you're actually on ascension. You're moving up all the time. And with that, you're creating more change and more transformation. Let's talk about the mindset shifts and let's talk a bit about your coach, Sophie, and how she's helped you.
Yeah, man. So Sophie definitely kicked my ass into shape. I definitely needed it, man. I mean, I'm such a lofty-minded kind of person, which is a great thing, but you have to hone in the execution. That's what Sophie's done amazingly for me, is hone my execution, allowing me to follow through. Another big thing for me was making a schedule. It seems really simple, but I'm telling you guys, if you break it down systematically the way that Sophie did it with me, it's so helpful. It's so amazing. You find all this time that you didn't have. And it's really about finding that balance. And that's the thing I'm learning now is to really just create a balance in my life. And man, the All Fired Up worksheets really helped. Like, I never made a vision board. I've written down goals before for the future, but I've never actually made a vision board. And that's kind of what really tied in my mission for life and my mission for goal, and made me realize all the little other obstacles holding me back were kind of small, and it didn't mean much, once you find really what you want to do in life.
What do you think would have happened if you carried on the way that you were going on without stepping forward and coming into the program, just honestly?
Man, I just sort of continued being depressed and feel like I was just letting myself down more than anyone. And it's just, it really sucks when you're not in the right mindset and you just know that you're stuck, because it affects not only you, but everyone around you. Man, when you're not showing up and just all your relationships suffer, it's just not a good spot to be. And I think people just tie so much value and so much worth into money, into a dollar amount, and they don't really look down deep in the core of themselves and other people and really figure out what they want.
Does this, with the mindset shifts that you've had, does this now excite you about what you're able to now do with your clients versus what you were doing before?
Oh, absolutely, man. I basically have taken all the strategies and all the systems that I've learned working with Simon and Sophie and all these other great people in my group, and I'm basically applying that to how I train now. I'm making a mind, body, spirit connection. You can't develop one area of your body and neglect another area. It's not going to work. At some point, you're going to outgrow yourself, either physically or mentally, and then you got to play catch up. So why not just do it all together? And as you go through it, just make it a total mind, body, spirit connection. And then you're just going to be performing at all levels possible you never would think would be possible.
And let's talk about one of the wins that you had, which was being one of the fastest ever to go up into the Platinum Mastermind, which was basically within 4 weeks, under 4 weeks. How did that feel, and why did you want to go to that next level? And because you kind of the match got lit, but you still wanted to push. So some people don't want to take that jump. What was the feeling like when you got that invitation?
Oh man, it felt great. As I explained to Simon before, I really am not geared towards the money. The money doesn't really appeal to me as much as basically just showing that people appreciate me and they care about me. I'm much more about, hey, give me a high five or give me a good job, and that's much more rewarding for me. So once I had the invitation there, it just felt so awesome that my hard work paid off, and it wasn't just a number like, oh, cool, now keep doing that. It was more so like, oh, awesome, like we want to invite you to be part of something special. And it felt really awesome to me because I've never really had that before. It's like usually when you're really successful and you succeed, people are like, all right, cool, now keep doing it. And this was completely different. So I really love that aspect of it for sure.
Nice. So we'll be seeing you in San Diego. So what would just be some parting advice that you would have for trainers watching that just want to, just some advice on some mindset pieces or some just things that you've learned in the program, which we can just give them as some free gifts and advice, just anything around transformation sessions or sales or leads or systems or mindset, just some golden nuggets from you of some stuff that you've learned.
Yeah. So you're never going to feel ready. That was probably one of the best words spoken I've ever heard, is you're never going to be ready. You kind of just have to do it. Like, don't be afraid of the unknown. It's scary as hell, guys, but I'm telling you, the rewards that you're going to reap and basically the growth that you're going to experience is just phenomenal. You won't even be able to imagine like how you're going to grow and how you're going to feel if you just dive into the unknown. Another good analogy I heard was burning the boats. Like for me, it was very like a mental burning the boats. I had other options, but mentally deciding that this was my path and this was my mission in life, this is my goal. I'm going to pursue this at every last step that I can. Because if you really don't have that mentality, like you're going to do anything possible, then, that's just going to lead to so much hurt and so much pain. So just do yourself a favor and just start. Doesn't matter what you guys have in mind. It doesn't matter all the ideas that you have. What matters most is executing and actually doing it.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. Well, thank you, Brandon. And if you guys are watching and you've not yet headed to Fitpreneurs, head to fitpreneurs.com, apply for the call, just like Brandon. He had to go through that same process. So, you know, did you ever arrive at the form and then just not follow through, or did you just follow through? Because some people are like, no, I went there a few times and didn't do it. Just interested to know, because I'm not asked to. No,
you know, I actually definitely felt a calling and just to fill out the form. I mean, what do you have to lose? I mean, that's the way I figure it is. You don't have anything to invest really. I mean, an hour of your time, if even that, it's very minuscule the amount of time that you invest for something that doesn't cost anything. And you're just going to grow exponentially from it. Whether you decide to go through the program or not, it's going to be super beneficial. So I just figured, why not, you know?
Good stuff. All right. And then we'll, I don't know what's going on with my camera, but not as good lighting as you. All right, Brandon, thank you so much for the inspiration. And I'll see you very soon, guys, on another live and another podcast. Take it easy. Thanks.